Hi, this is Chris. Today I'm going to show and tell my tags in the 52 Tags Handmade Challenge presented by Anne Brooke Textile Artist. And this will be my tags for June, which puts us halfway through the year, and it'll be weeks 22 through 26. So 22 was layers of lace, and I've been wanting to do a little sampler with some lace from the my grandmother's lace box that I inherited, and it was a really hard decision which laces to cut up and use for this. But I bit the bullet and I cut some of these really pretty old laces. Some of them may have belonged to my grandmother's mother, and these are really the fine ones, and they're machine made, they're not handmade, but I thought they were pretty. And then I decided to do a second tab, so I did this one with the laces made out of thicker threads. So this little tatting across the top, it's possible that my grandmother may have made that, or my great-grandmother. I doubt that they made this one. This one is pretty complicated. This one is also tatting, but without the little picots. And then these are made out of heavier materials. I thought they were really pretty. This is the only one that looks like it could be handmade to me. If this one is handmade, it was a very experienced tatter, and this one maybe a intermediate tatter. So that was week 22, and week 23 was a bunch of flowers. This was another hard decision I had to make this month. Many years ago I bought this shabby tattered quilt, probably from the 30s or the 40s, threadbare in quite a few places, and I bought it to use in crafting, but I never had the nerve to actually cut into it, even though parts of it were so worn that the top fabric was missing. So I bit the bullet and I cut into it, and I did my flower, my bunch of flowers on here, and I used daisy stitch and French knots and bullion stitch and some straight stitching, and I made a bunch of flowers tied with a little bit of twine. So week 24 was tatting, and so again I used this piece from my grandmother's lace box, and this is another piece of the quilt, one of the blocks from the center. This yellow one was part of the edging. And so I did some tatting. This was my first time, and I used some different cording and some pearl cotton, and I can't remember what this was called. It was very difficult to work with. It didn't work out very well right here. And then one of the rhinestones that I found in my grandmother's lace box, and some pieces of shell beads, I guess, and some little tiny buttons. These little buttons were from my mother's sewing. She used to make dolls and doll clothes, so she had a lot of these little tiny buttons here. So that was number 24. Week number 25 was weaving, and this was not new to me, as I took 3 semesters of fiber arts in college, and we did lots of different types of weaving on large looms and small looms and basket weaving, and we did some yarn dyeing with natural vegetables like onion skin dyeing, things like that. This particular wool is left over from that time. Near where I went to school there was a weaving center. There was a shop and a place where they would have displays and they would have events, and they had a large selection of weaving wools, and that's when I learned that weaving wool is not the same as knitting wool. weaving wool doesn't stretch, whereas knitting wool will stretch. So I just made a little sort of a scene with a landscape and some clouds and sky. And I would like to do another one of these. I enjoyed that one. And then week 26 was the halfway mark through the year, and so Anne suggested we make ourselves an award for making it through the year. So more of that old shabby quilt, some twill tape where I cut it off so that the 6 shows for 6 months, and this is an antique bobbin right here from my collection of doodads, and a grosgrain ribbon, a woven ribbon down here. This little patch is was from my mom's collection of patches that she bought when we were on a trip to Europe many years ago, and she bought this one in Switzerland. And then the pins are crossed like swords on a heraldic shield or something like that. And then this old button was in with my mother's sewing things, and it's pretty old. It's maybe from the 50s, I think. And I painted the outside gold, and I put some glossy accents on there. That's this item here. It has a real fine little tip, and it's kind of thick, so you can put little dots, and it sparkles because it's clear. And then from my aunt's sewing cabinet, which I got when she passed away, there were some old spools of thread, and I soaked off this Coats Super Sheen label from a spool of thread, and I soaked it off the thread and then glued it inside the button. And so that's my award. So we had layers of lace, a bunch of flowers, tatting, weaving, an award for making it 6 months. So I'm really looking forward to the next 6 months and seeing what different things we can do. So I really enjoy Anne Brooke's challenge, and check out her YouTube channel, Anne Brooke's Fiber Artist. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Have a great day crafting.